Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
And good evening. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at CriticalBlast.com, and it is open mic night. So whatever you want to talk about, it's your show, guys. You can hit the link at the top of the chat. It's right over there. Yeah, I'm wearing my Legion of Superheroes Starboy shirt today, in case you didn't notice that. And we have with us our usual Peanuts gallery. We've got Mike Walters from the Mic Stand. Mike, how you doing tonight?
All right, sorry about that. I had to just go over to the YouTube screen real quick to mute that to where
I thought you were listening to somebody who sounded really good. I was like, dang, Mike's got a good show on there. I might tune over to that.
Well, it was basically you doing the double time there, RJ.
I've done that. I've done the double time and triple time before, so I'm used to it.
Yeah.
We also got James Lee with us, creator of the Steins and creator of the upcoming graphic novel, The Dark Goddess. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Oh, so we made it through another week, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, got some more of The Dark Goddess drawn, so that's a good thing. Probably should have the book all penciled and inked before going into Indiegogo. Probably going to be in October.
Wow, you're really zipping through it then.
Yeah, I'm on page 10 now on the pencils, so and inks. So like I said, I'm doing penciling and I'm doing the ink right behind it. So it's gonna be. My goal is to have it all penciled and inked before the campaign launches.
All right, well, I had a kind of a sort of a Comicsgate purchase that came in this weekend. Not a crowdfunded comics, but if you follow the Twitters on CG a lot, you probably have run into Gideon's Mob. Brian Urso is out there chatting and tweeting stuff. So I decided to hear what their music was like. Now, I've not even taken the shrink wrap off this yet because I just got it out of the box. But looking forward to throwing that in the little side-by-side Blu-ray player here that's plugged into my laptop and giving it a listen later tonight.
And then we have this sad note to report. This came from Jim Lee. DC artist Robinson Roca has passed away, and he was not very old. I think he was probably in his mid-30s. So that's a sad thing. Heartfelt prayers go out to everybody, DC and his family and everything.
Do we know what happened?
Jim did not elaborate, but I don't know if it's COVID. I don't know if it's cancer or what, but something happened and he's gone.
Yeah, I'm seeing all the. James, your mic is cutting in and out. Sometimes it sounds like you're in an air conditioner vent, and sometimes it sounds like you're a mile away.
Okay, let me see if I have the right mic. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up some Robson Roca art, and we'll share some of that here.
Well, I hadn't heard of him before, so
well, Bleeding Cool.
Up to that point yet in my studies. So.
Yep. Bleeding Cool is reporting that he died of the coronavirus, so it's anything but that.
Bleeding Cool, are they kind of a left-leaning SJW-esque?
No, well, not. Is that better?
That is much better, actually.
Okay, I had the wrong mic. That's all.
Yeah, they're it's not so much that it's more like they're the Rona Barrett of comics reporting. So if they get a sniff of blood in the water, then there's a massacre somewhere that must have happened. It's a little bit of over-reporting, and they'll run with a rumor sometimes.
On this, it doesn't matter if it's SJW or what. It's still sad that somebody this young, passes away. Especially, he had 11 years at DC, so
yeah, this is
very talented.
This is Robson's Aquaman. This is some good stuff. He was very talented. There's a lot of talented artists coming out of Brazil. It can be a renaissance for comics in that area.
Well, I mean, who was it back in the 90s that came out of Brazil that did Wonder Woman and then did some Lady Death?
The one I remember doing did Wonder Woman right after, that would have been right after George Perez.
What was his name?
Gosh.
But he's fantastic.
Yeah, because he was very Perez-like in his his presentation. Oh,
Yeah.
Lord. I've
I
got
just can't think of his name.
Hey, RJ, you got a couple of comments from Twitch from somebody named Amber City.
Ambergé City Girls, and I'm my cosmopolitan language skills don't take me in that direction. I think that's German. That would be a nice thing for StreamYards to put on here as a little translator button. Just pull in a Google API that could pull that off and give me a button to hit. Then I could, read links from Twitch and the other places. That'd be nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would help a lot.
So I'm sorry if I don't read your chats if you leave them in languages other than English, because I'm just not fluent and I don't want to mangle your language and insult you accidentally by.
Well, we could probably read it. The only problem is, as you said, we would, one, likely butcher it, or two, we'd have no idea what we'd be reading.
Well, it's not just that. Sometimes Google Translate doesn't correctly do it. So.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, I can't copy paste comments out of the chat in the StreamYards link. That's a little bizarre.
Is it on YouTube or is it on Twitch?
On Twitch.
I don't know. You're on Twitch.
Well,
We are on Twitch.
Robert Roberts just came in.
Oh, yes. Welcome, Robert. We're still kind of finding our footing here. We're talking about Robson Roca and his untimely passing, presumably to coronavirus.
Well, here's the thing about that. Here's what I want to say about at least that aspect of it. The whole labeling his death. Well, I don't know for sure. None of us really know for sure what he actually died from. But the thing is that there are a lot of people out there who are going to probably who and they've been doing this for like the last year or so. They'll try to link any and all deaths to coronavirus, probably to stir fear, to maybe get people to, subjugate themselves to the government. Okay.
First off, the vaccine was created under the Trump administration, not Biden. Okay, that's the first thing everybody keeps forgetting. Number two, I've had coronavirus. I was in the hospital. I know how bad it is.
Yeah.
And I can tell you real quick, if he had anything like asthma or anything like that, he would have died from it. Because I know what that disease does. I've seen it firsthand. And I also was American military, so I can talk about it. If you want to talk about it as a joke, it's not a joke. I've seen it firsthand. I felt the disease firsthand.
And that's usually how it kills people, is not really the direct just having it, but usually
I will tell you
exacerbating stuff.
I get that part, but there is an undercurrent there too, where they're trying to get people to, subjugate themselves too. Okay, I get that. Yeah, I get you have certain portions of the population are going to be more susceptible to it. Those who have respiratory issues, those who are 65 and older. Okay, but
here's the thing about vaccines and stuff. I've had more vaccines in me than most people ever will have. Okay, when you go to the Army, the first thing you do is you go into a room and they pepper both your arms and your hip full of shots.
Yep.
You have no choice in the matter. Okay.
Your government issue material.
Yeah, you're grade A stock lumber for the military. But this thing about, don't take the vaccine because it's got this chip in it. Okay, you understand the vaccine is a liquid that they pull from a bottle, that the needle is not just, they actually do it from a bottle. They don't have the needles already prepped. So there's no way to put a chip in each shot. That's baloney. That's garbage. I don't care who said it. Because the liquid is not breaking up where each one separates.
Yeah.
That would not work that way. Number two, I recommend getting the vaccine. I've got the vaccine. I've had the vaccine. Okay. I don't care what the government says. Okay. I talked with my doctor. Talk with your personal doctor, see what he says. Because I had the virus and stuff, I had to find out which vaccine to take because one of them adversely attacks people who's had certain pills and stuff while they had the disease. So that's facts. That's where everything goes.
And I wonder if anybody gets that kind of advice when they choose the vaccine. I mean, you walk into Walmart and it just says, "Hey, we got the vaccine here. It's for free."
I had my vaccine at Walmart. They give you a questionnaire of like 50 questions. And you have to answer all the questions and turn them in. If it's one or the other, they'll tell you which one you can take and which one you can't take, or if you have to go see your doctor to make sure. They're just not going to plug you with the vaccine.
Because there's like three of them?
Three different vaccines. The one that I took was the Johnson & Johnson.
And even if you take the safe vaccine, you're going to feel
RJ, let me apologize because I wasn't intending to start a huge, political argument. I kind of did there, but I really wasn't intending to. So let me apologize for that.
Well, we see a lot of it on Twitter all the time. It kind of inundates our thinking and our speech.
The one thing, this is how, and I'm going to tell you how Corona kills a person. Because I saw it at the hospital. When you're talking about layered respiratory problems like asthma or something like that. A person, when you start coughing, you stop breathing. Okay, that means you cannot breathe while you're coughing because you're exhaling. The problem with coronavirus is it will make you cough until you pass out. You're not going to stop. You'll cough 10, 15, 20 minutes, and it's hard coughing. And when you pass out at that point, it depends if the body will reject or keep going that way, and it just shuts you off completely when you die. That's what's so bad about it. That's how it works. And the other thing is, like, if you have flu or any other respiratory like that, it will hijack that disease and times it by 10 or 20. Now, if you really want to look at what this disease is, I'll give you real quick. Go back to 1918 Spanish flu epidemic. It's the same disease. Same MO, same symptoms. The problem is,
and as a society, we still ultimately survived without everybody, going like.
You understand that one in every 8 persons in the world died from that disease back then?
That was a lot.
They hide it because of World War I's death toll. But it was 1 in every 8 people died.
Yes, but the fact is, James, we're all mortal. We're all gonna die eventually.
I understand
whether that's by disease or by car accident or whatever. So sitting there worrying about it,
I don't worry about it. I'm just saying, don't sit here and say, "Oh, you don't need to be vaccinated." Oh, don't do this because government said it. The hell with the government. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, everybody needs to make their own choice on the matter. And if you don't want to be vaccinated, I think that that's your choice. Don't do it, obviously. But I have a problem, with people going on the bandwagon, and saying nobody should be vaccinated because everybody is different, and we have another opinion on the matter probably from Jim Bob.
But his mic is muted.
Oh, Jim Bob, you're muted. Well, and that's why his mic was muted.
Okay, sorry about that, Jim Bob. Ouch.
I think he was. I don't know what noise you got. My earbuds muffle things down when somebody comes in and does that. So I don't get.
Yeah. Anyways,
back to comic books. Yes.
Unless you guys really want to talk about vaccine and get into that kind of debate, I suggest we just move on because
we don't. Yeah, we've talked about it enough that YouTube's already going to take us down any second here. We've said the word too many times.
You were talking about Chuck Dixon, which I love Chuck Dixon. I really do. I've got a lot of his books, especially when he was doing Superman. Fantastic. Yes, I got autographs from him too. So yay. But yeah, he's right. he was dead on in his movie. I think he was.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
pause just a second here, because RJ's been driving the last 2 days. So
Oh,
I
you
am
didn't see what he posted, what he did?
no,
Oh,
I am completely out of the loop. So
oh
bring us up
my
to speed.
goodness, Mike, you
Oh,
want to read the
Chuck
article?
Dixon.
Be my guest, Mike. You're gonna love this one, RJ. I mean,
You,
this
you
is
covered you broke the news on your station, Mike. So
yeah.
break it here.
Oh,
He's
okay.
great. He's
I actually
good.
have the article ready to share if I can do so.
Go right
Please,
ahead.
yeah.
Please do.
Because I talked about this the other day because in my coverage.
The
So,
last news I got was this morning when I was watching an older live stream and Ethan was talking about the Comicsgate trademark lawsuit. So
Yeah,
Okay.
that was Friday. But yeah, here we go.
So here's the thing. Prolific Batman writer Chuck Dixon explains why manga is wiping the floor with American comics. This was
Better
written
stories?
by John F. Trent.
Oh, he
Huh?
this is fantastic. This is fantastic. I love this. Go ahead,
So
Mike.
longtime Batman scribe. Okay, longtime Batman scribe and the co-creator of Bane, Chuck Dixon, recently explained why Japanese manga is wiping the floor with American comics. Dixon recently uploaded his 65th episode of Ask Chuck Dixon to his YouTube channel, where Ricardo Garcia asked him, "What is your thoughts on why manga is wiping the floor with American comics?" He had a couple of good, interesting points here too, and I'll even talk a little bit about one of them. But I'll just continue reading on until I get to a point where I can comment.
Yeah.
Dixon answered, "It's not too hard to figure out. Really, there's a lot of dedication, passion, and craft in manga comics, and that's missing almost entirely from the big two."
pause right there, because we're adding somebody to the stream who I do trust and who is verified. We have Mike Jimmy here, the creator of Life on Korra. Mike Jimmy, welcome.
Pleasant to meet you, sir. Pleasant to meet you. Congratulations on your book too.
Thank you. We're at 8 hours left on the campaign, so we're doing good. 7 actually.
Congratulations.
You want to throw me a link in the private stream, and I'll throw it out there in the chat, Mike.
Yeah, sure. We are 1 backer away from our next stretch goal and 6 from the one after that. I got a couple of bookmarks to add to everything once order. So
okay, so somebody in the in the chat here, make this stretch goal happen, and here's the link to Life on Korra number 4. Yes, 4 books he's done so far, fulfilled.
Yeah, I think you did a show with him recently, right? There, RJ.
Oh, we've done a few shows, and I can personally guarantee that Life on Korra will be fulfilled in the United States, because I'm the one licking the stamps, so to speak.
I got one small detail to give up, because last week I stated that the Steins was on sale, and go get copies and stuff. Okay, this was yesterday, as book rankings worldwide for the following categories. I'm going to tell you what number the Steins got to. Okay, in coming of age fantasy, the Steins went all the way up to number 2,998. In dark fantasy, it went to 4,279. In coming of age fiction, 4,811. That means all 3 categories I busted into the top 5,000.
That is
nice.
sweet.
In 1 week. In sales.
That you say top 5,000, people are like, wow, 5,000. No, have you seen how many books are out there?
I'm going to tell you how many exactly books that are out there by title, because they list that too. 62,586,000.
Yeah. So
and I busted the top 5,000 in all those 3 categories.
That's almost like the top 0.5%.
Yeah. So thanks everybody who went and bought it. Thank you so much. The paperbacks are still on sale, but the hardback, they took it off. They were like, nope, we're done. So, but yeah, thank you guys so much. thank you guys very much. It really means a lot to me. You guys really did a great job, which means Amazon has ordered more books, which means I'm getting a bigger paycheck. Yay!
Nice.
That's how I get my paychecks, is when the book companies order the books. I know Barnes and Nobles are still trying to get paperbacks. They're having a hard time for some reason. They said they're having to wait 3 weeks. So,
Yeah, I know that we just had a an order go in for copies of Bulletproof in both hardcover and softcover from Critical Blast Publications. Yeah, Mike, we publish books too.
Oh, wow, surprising. Yeah.
yeah.
Because the author, Stephen J. Mitchell, is going to be doing a convention appearance in New York. And he's like, we need books. I'm like, okay, we'll have some shipped to you. So if you're visiting book conventions in New York, look him up.
See, I did the same thing last week because I've got one coming in August. And that's going to be a big one here in Arlington. So
I've got to find some book conventions going on.
Oh, man.
They had one last weekend that I didn't get to go because I had to work. So I didn't make an appearance there. But this one in August, I'm off. I get to make an appearance there, so I'll have my booth up and everything. And I got some really nice banners, 8-foot tall banners for the Steins and the Steins too. So yeah,
those are big boys.
Yeah,
I was gonna have my first writers market in 3 weeks, and they shut down every big event again in the Netherlands.
Are you in the Netherlands?
Yeah. So, man, don't get me started.
What did somebody come down with the variation?
No, it's just that we got the restrictions taken down. Well, for the most part, because the weather's getting better and so people are less easily infected. But then a lot of teenagers decided to have massive parties.
And the numbers spiked.
Without checking, without getting self-tested or whatever.
Everybody got sick.
Yeah.
We need a week of global temperatures in like 102.
Yeah. Yeah. Just purge the thing.
Oh, dude, I'm enjoying Texas right now because right now we should be the hot box at 115 and we're at 92.
Oh.
So, I mean, 90.
Well, we're in the high 80s here in Southern California.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm in Texas where it should be a toaster box right now, and it's not. Thank God.
But yeah, we need some heat to burn this thing off. Mike, we were talking about Chuck Dixon's declaration this week about manga versus American comic books.
Mm-hmm.
Were you aware of his statements on the matter? Because it's all new to me.
No, not really.
Well then.
Yeah, he toasted.
Shall I continue, RJ?
Please, Mike, go ahead and continue. Yeah, right, Mike. Okay, we have two mics. That's how I have to think about that now.
Call me Jimmy. That works too.
Mike, please do continue, and we shall hear what the great Chuck had to say.
Okay, so just start from here. I know
he elaborated.
Dixon answered, "It's not too hard to figure out, really. There's a lot of dedication, passion, and craft in manga comics, and that's missing almost entirely from the big two."
Amen.
He elaborated, "Marvel and DC still run the store here," which is true. They're basically the big two. They still are the market leaders. And unfortunately, there is no variety there. There's nothing really different. There's not something for everybody the way there is in manga. And before I continue on, let me comment. There was a time when, there was actually a lot, like back in the golden and silver age, there was a lot more.
That's 50 years ago. That was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
There was a lot more variety. And I'll explain more of that and go on.
Yeah, keep going because this is really good. And I know what mangas he's talking about. That's how.
We're about to get into it, James. Dixon then touted the artwork in manga. It's not hard to see. The artwork is attractive. It's different. It's engaging. It's interesting. It's varied. So there's a lot of reasons to like manga. and not a whole lot of reasons to like what's out now. In terms, I guess what he's talking about there is with Western comics, because what's out now for the big two is, for the most part, poorly crafted. There's a few exceptions, but for the most part, it's poorly crafted, poorly conceived. There's an obvious political agenda to everything, and there's no variety. And one of the things he will say here in the next few lines is that one of the things he's pointing out is that a lot of these artists are using the superheroes as their own personal avatars to push their own political agendas. He actually said that in here, and I'll get to that in a moment. But look at this. This is Chainsaw Man. This is actually a manga that just recently got an anime adaptation.
Well,
this thing's going to be coming to
anime
form pretty soon.
No, it's already
what
here.
Was that?
It's already here. The
Chainsaw Man anime?
The mangas are here. You can get the mangas. The anime won't be here probably till next year because they're just not drawing it. But
Chainsaw Man is said to be a pretty popular manga going on.
It's extremely popular. And again, Viz has got it. So
how badly is it outselling everything in the market?
Viz is making a killing right now. I mean, Viz is because they've got everything. They got everything that's still Gun Jump and there's One Punch Man, all that stuff. They've got. There's a new book out. It's called IPPY something. I can't remember the title, but it's like a little girl that wears a sweater and her lower half's that of a chicken, and it's adorable. It's just adorable, and it's selling out all over the place in Japan. I mean, it's just going berserk. I mean, it's just her every day. But she looks cute. She's but that's. I mean, like I was talking about. What was the issue? I don't know what the issue was, but I want to say it was Demon Slayer or was it the Berserk last issue or something like that. But that store had 5,000 copies and they sold out in one day.
Wow,
everybody went in there.
Jimmy, how are manga selling in the Netherlands? I mean, if you go to your comic store,
they are.
James, you unplugged. We're back in the air conditioner vents again.
Me?
Hang on a second. Let me see if it's you. Yeah, it's you. I muted your mic and the sound went away.
So manga is popular. It has been growing since the early 2000s here, but since we're so used to Franco-Belgian comics and having a huge variety of all kinds of things, it's really not any bigger than the bande dessinée that we're used to are. So it's just another way to tell stories for us. Where American comics are much more focused on superheroes. We got so many different kinds of stories and timelines and styles that it's just if you find something that fits your need to read in manga, then you read a manga. But there's probably something like it in bande dessinée.
That brings up something that I know this is going to deviate us for a little while here, so keep the page up, Mike, because we'll get back to this. But if Franco-Belgian comics were suddenly spiking in the U.S., would we be saying the same thing that we are about manga? How hey, bande dessinée is wiping the floor with comics. I mean, technically, bande dessinée are comics.
Yes, and let's be honest here. Manga are comics, and I know there's people gonna be hating right now, going, but manga is completely different. No, it's literally the Japanese word for a comic strip.
Do you hear me now?
Well, if you think about it,
okay, so
if you think about it too, the word manga comes very close to the word magazine, right? They kind of, originally here in the States, comics were actually called comic magazines.
Yeah, and I've actually seen one called a manga zine, which I thought was kind of a clever compilation. It was a Shonen Jump kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what Shonen Jump is. Shonen Jump is actually a weekly magazine. It's not the booklet like Manga Speaker. It's a weekly magazine. It's got like 8 or 9 different series in that magazine, and it sells millions of copies.
Is how here in the States we started originally back in the 30s and stuff. They were anthologies, where now everything is more of a feature style book that they do now in the current.
And we put it right across the top of the Fantastic Four, the world's greatest comics magazine.
What you got to keep in mind, like when it comes down to it, like the only reason that the American comic scene is really just seems to be dying is because the variety of the reach that the American comics have is really, really minimal. They really push down and try to focus on getting everything into local comic shops, and if I go to the supermarket right now, I can pick up a weekly Donald Duck magazine, that has original stories drawn by someone in the Netherlands, licensed by Disney, and they've been going for like 40 years. Mm-hmm. And I can pick up an Asterix at the supermarket. I can pick up a Lucky Luke. I can get the comic magazines like Shonen Jump, but I can also get the Dutch ones, and it's availability.
I remember.
Actually, as we're talking about variety and stuff, that would be a great segue into these next few paragraphs here. If I can get back to that real quick.
All right, jump in there. We'll keep this finished up.
Because basically what you guys are talking about is in these next paragraphs of what, since I can find the cursor, of course. There we go. All right, so here's what Chuck actually had to say on all that, on talking about the variety and stuff. Dixon then expanded on the variety Japanese manga has. Quote, in Japanese manga, there's golf comics. There's not one comic about golf. There's multiple comics about golf. And I think he's talking about the manga ones, of course.
Yeah.
He continued, quote, and I've made reference on these videos to one of my favorite mangas is about fishing. It's just about fishing. It's not about vampires fishing on another planet, or witches fishing, or fishing after a zombie apocalypse. This is about guys fishing, surf casting, and whatever. Fishing from boats, fishing on the shore, fishing from the banks of rivers, and the stories are fascinating and beautifully drawn and beautifully realized. He then contrasted that with American comics. But here, quote, but here, what do we get? We get superheroes and poorly done superheroes. There really isn't anything else at the mainstream companies. It's superheroes. Superheroes. And they are all avatars for what I just said, for the writer's political agenda. And they're kind of tiresome. They're not particularly well drawn. They're not particularly well realized, unquote. Now, as to the variety thing, one of the things I want to comment on is that, again, going back to the Golden and Silver Age, they did, Dixon talked about how Dixon talked about in manga how they have mangas on golf, on fishing, on various sports and stuff like that. Back in the Golden and Silver Age, there was a lot more variety. Superheroes were, but you had Western Fawcett comics, for example, in the 40s had a comic dedicated to Hopalong Cassidy. They had romance comics.
Yeah.
You would not believe how many romance comics there were.
But
Oh yeah,
again,
you would.
that's,
And 50s.
that's
Okay,
70
they had
years, that's
detective
70,
stories.
80 years
They
ago.
had
Yeah.
sci-fi. You know, they
And
That's the
it
problem.
just further proves how, like, yeah, that's been 70 years, and you're completely right. You know, and it's been so pushed down and funneled out. While, you know, Daphne Leitch has a European comic about Roman horse chariot racing, you know, and it's beautifully drawn and it's beautifully written and everything, and it's you know, and
But
I'm used to seeing everything for everyone.
right.
And
well, one of
that's
the
not
other
here.
things that became pretty popular too, more in the 50s, yeah, that became more popular. Yeah, and that's right. And they've gotten away from a lot of that here in the States. That, you know,
Yeah.
whereas over in Japan they're still doing it. As you were talking about with Shonen Jump. Shonen Jump is probably more like what our comics used to be back in the golden and silver age. They were more Shonen Jump is more of an anthology, okay? Whereas,
I wouldn't say it's an anthology. I would say it's more like a. Let's see, what was the book?
It's a magazine, really.
It's straight up magazine with different.
It's like the
stories in it.
Strand used to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a story magazine.
Yeah.
It can be compared to like heavy metal back in the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
You
what
know?
it's got 5 or 6 stories in it, and it runs weekly. It's not, and like one week you'll have Naruto, Bleach, One Punch Man, Black Clover. Next week you have Dragon Ball Z. You know, they mix it up, but you know that's a continuation of how they do everything. And I mean, it's worked really well. They got, you know, good population, and then you get the book novels come out with it. And it's just golden. And the thing about it is over there, everybody buys them. It's just not
Yes.
teenagers. It's not
Yeah.
young kids. It's rich executives, geishas, rich women. It's the businessmen. Everybody buys them. It's
Well,
not just this guy goes to comic book.
Here's an argument I keep hearing, and there's a twist on it now that I'm seeing. Everyone's talking. Obviously, now the argument is that when they say manga is killing comics, they're talking about American Western comics.
Yes.
They're not,
That's what it is.
they're not
Yeah.
trying to. Well, they are making a differentiation between the two art forms, but even if they aren't, they're saying, "Hey, this it's a trade war." If you know, like if Honda was out selling Chevrolet, you know, Lee Iacocca wouldn't be out there saying, hey, the car industry is doing great. He'd be saying, hey, imports are killing the domestic market.
Yeah.
And Dixon's 100% right about what's going on. And I'm going to take a title. I'm just going to use one title to prove what Dixon said. Children of the Atom. That book.
can you repeat that, James? Because you kind of got choppy there.
Children of the Atom. Did you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
I think Mike's got an internet issue.
The book is Children of the Atom. Okay. That book is highly politicized by the author. Not only that, one of the characters is the author. Looks identical to her, hairstyle, everything. It's her. She put herself in there. She uses her personal experiences of her life and everything to drive that story. And she pushes her own agenda in that story. And that is just one book. But I looked at it. The first issue wasn't too bad, but once you start getting into issue 3, 4, you can see it real clear.
Yeah.
And
Who are you talking about, James?
The writer of the Children of the Atom.
Oh, Children of the Atom.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is one of the books that Dixon. I can tell you right now, Dixon's probably thinking that's number one. That one is terribly written. You know, it's really bad. And then another one he was talking about, drawn and written, was that the other girl that's like Wonder Woman. That artwork was just terrible, and the story was very.
Sorry, guys, I gotta go. I'm apparently on a different show, and I completely forgot about it.
You better get there, Jim.
Take it easy, lovelies.
See you later.
All right.
Bye.
But yeah, those two right there are examples of what Dixon's talking about.
Yeah, and you're talking about Vita Ayala there. Who's, you know, slowly becoming the singularity in comic book writers. But here's the twist that I was looking at was like, if we're looking at this as a trade war situation, here in the United States, the manga is mostly printed by Viz, which is headquartered in San Francisco, so it's technically an American company. So now,
They're
when we
American
say that
distributor.
manga, are they a distributor? Because they're listed as a publisher,
Well, they are publishing the books for Shogun Jump and manga.
and I'm sure they have to
But
license it.
they have the whole thing. I know who the lady is that owns Viz.
Okay.
Very, very wonderful lady. I mean, this lady should be listed as one of the most powerful women in comic books, period. Because I guarantee you, if you take something that illegally from Viz, she will come after you with every lawyer she's got, and she will get you. But I mean, she has manga, she has anime, she has it all. She controls it all. But she personally goes and licenses the products. She goes to Japan. She sits down with the executives. Like I said, she's the president CEO of Viz. She's the founder of Viz, and she does it herself. She doesn't send anybody else. She does it because
The current
she
CEO is Ken
loves-
Sasaki.
Oh, it used to be a lady, but she loves manga. And I'll tell you the big one that if you ever take it, that company's going to nail you to the wall. Is Captain Harlock. That's the most protected IP in the world. Is Captain Harlock.
Well, then I guess my question is this: if Viz puts out a book, publishes a book here in the States that's a licensed manga, and let's just make it easy math. Let's say it sells for $1. Each one's $1. How much of that stays domestic, and how much of that goes back to Japan?
I believe it's 70% goes back to Japan.
That's a lot. Okay, so it is a trade war situation then, where if they sell if they sell 10 million, then $7 million just went to Japan.
Correct. It's we're talking huge amount of money.
And Robert Roberts, you're right. Sometimes they change it, sometimes they don't. I've seen a lot of Viz publications that still read from the back to the front in the American way of speaking.
Viz does it just like the manga you see in Japan.
Yeah.
So it's not. So it's the direction. Yeah. It's you're gonna be reading manga backwards.
And Herwenberg, you are correct. There are a lot of indies out there that do different kinds of stories, and you just have to find a comic shop that's going to take a chance on them. Now, comic shops don't take chances. Daphne Lage was talking about this earlier today on the Indie Vault Sunday Funnies, where retailers don't want all ages books. They may say they want all ages books, but they've been conditioned by Diamond over the years to say all ages books don't sell. This is what you want.
Well, here's the problem we have in the indie circuit, and I'm going to say it because I've been watching it. We had this problem back in the 90s. We really have it right now, and you can see it on Indiegogo. If you're doing a campaign and you're saying, okay, we're going to stop the campaign on this date, we're looking at shipping it out on this date, make it sure that you ship out on that date.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, I'll tell you, I've got one book. I'm not going to say what the title is. I paid for it. It was supposed to come out in October 2020. This is July 2021. The book still hasn't come out. Okay, I mean that's very unacceptable. This is and that's just one. There is a lot of this going on. If you're going to put a book out, because I'm saying this as an author who plays with an editor and has a timestamp on his stuff, make your deadlines. You want to beat DC, you want to beat Marvel, show that you can meet your deadlines. I'll tell you a book right now that makes his deadlines and gets stuff done. That's Andy Smith in First Man. I will support him all the way through because what? He gets his book done and sent when he says he's going to.
Yeah, Mike Shea's Lovecraft comic book, Miskatonic High, they make their deadlines. Well, they've done 12 issues in a row, so they're doing it right
but
too.
I'm saying as a majority, it's not happening. There's a bunch of books that were supposed to come out in May that didn't come out.
Yeah, I've got. I'm looking at the stuff that I've backed. So far, I've only got one that was in 2019 that I'm not going to get. It's never going to happen. The author's in jail, so he's not going to be doing much of anything. He's going to be there for a long time. but the latest one. The latest one I've got had a May 2021 estimated delivery date, and obviously it's July. So anything I had from 2020 has come through and backed.
Yeah, I've still got one in 2020, and I pulled one. I just said, you know what, I'm not going to do this. You're supposed to have it out at this time, and it's now 8 months. I'm pulling it.
Oh,
And I did. I took a refund. I said, that's it. I'm done.
yeah. You know what? My books apparently the order that I purchased them in are not the order that they had delivery destinations on. So I've still got some older ones like, oh, let's see, these Battle Brick Road is. It doesn't even have a delivery date on it anymore.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't know if I'm going to go back it or not. You know, I mean, he's pushing it on Twitter and stuff like that every day and like that. But you know, it's just not. I'm like, when are you going to put this out? Give me a date that I know, because if I'm backing something, I don't want to wait 2 years, 3 years to get. And again, if you want to take on DC, Marvel, Image, anybody, you got to set your dates. You got to make your dates.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what John Mayer was saying. You got to make your dates. You got to set your dates. You got to do the
Interestingly
work.
enough, the ones that are the latest for me are the ones that were crowdfunded by industry professionals to a level. I mean, my Miss Fury was January 2021, and that's late. And my Fairy Quest, which Paul Jenkins was January 2021, and I've gotten neither one of those yet. So,
like I said, it's just like I said. What gets me is everybody gets on here, especially on the YouTube channels. We're going to beat the big two. We're going to go after the big two. If you're going to go after the big two, if you're going to go after these guys, better books, better quality, on time. Learn time management. I'm saying this from somebody who had to learn this, because I have to have my books done. Like right now, this is July. My book is already getting formatted now. Why? Because it's coming out in September. That's 8 weeks. So I have 8 weeks for it to get formatted, printed into the printer, and out. That's a good amount of time leeway. But I set the date. I had to have it into them. I had certain things. I had dates I had to meet, and I met those dates. But I have to force myself to make the dates.
You do. It's funny. It's work. I mean, I think there's a lot of people who are like, hey, I've been drawing comics as a hobby for a long time here. Now there's a way to actually make money on it. Let's go crowdfund a comic. And then they find out, oh, I have to be a publishing company and actually do the work.
Okay. Publishing company, I'm going to explain this thing about publishing companies. There's a difference between a publisher and a printer.
Yeah.
That's the big difference. There's a huge difference between a publisher and a printer. I use a publisher to clean up my mess. That's what I use a publisher for. Well, then the publisher sends it to the printer. Once it's at the printer does all my advertising and everything to get it out to the stores. Instead of it coming back like in crowdfunding, once it gets to the printer, it comes back to me, and I have to push it out, and I have to advertise and like that. All right, before I go to the printer. When you have a publisher, the publisher sets it up, everything for that, and it moves into the printer. But the publisher helps also with advertising, and that's the difference.
Yeah.
But when you do crowdfunding and you're going to do it on your own, you got to do everything yourself.
Yeah, you got to be the publisher, because you do have to clean up your own mess. And hopefully, you've got somebody to be your editor, and don't edit yourself, because we've probably all seen a crowdfunded comic that was just riddled with misspellings and such.
Well, the way you do your editing, I'll explain on comic books. Draw your page, do it as 2 pages together, because when you open a comic book up, you're looking at page 2, 3. You're not looking at just one page. So draw it that way. Then sit back and look at it and go, would this be Marvel? Would this be DC? And if you can't say that, pick it up, tear it up, and do it again. Because right now, and I'm going to say this with the Dark Goddess, I've torn up probably 12 pages that I just saw was not, in my estimation, good enough to go up against DC or Marvel. I tore them up. I said, they're not going. And the other thing is, if you notice, I don't have a campaign up yet. My campaign hasn't launched yet. Why? Because my goal is to have a product that I can crowdfund for a certain amount of days. I can then go in demand for a certain amount of days, and bam, it's the printer and it's gone. That's my idea. But I've got to have a product to show. And right now, I don't have what I consider a good product. I have some pages, but I don't have a product as a full theatrical whatever to do.
And I think a lot of people are finding that out now. And the better crowdfunders are doing that. They're getting the product done and then they're crowdfunding it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I know which one was it? Shadow Century, I think it was. He's got his book 2 done. Now he's crowdfunding book 2. So they're getting it done. There was one, the elemental one. That was from England. I can't remember who the guy was behind it. He was the writer. But he had a good looking book. It's just I wasn't keen on the story. The other thing is the way he was promoting it was the way I looked at it was don't promote it like you're going up against Ethan. Because that's what he was trying, he was like, my book's as good as Ethan's. That's not how you do it. You want to say, my book is unique and I'm taking on DC and Marvel. You want something different, you want my book. You don't want theirs. You're tired of their political agendas, you come get my book. My book's going to be entertaining. My book's going to give you something you really want to read.
Don't go after your cohorts. Look, consider all you indie folks to be published in the same market.
Yeah.
Your friendly competition. Go after your hostile competition.
Yeah, the hostile competition right now is DC Marvel. That's your hostile competition.
Hicksville and I was not aware that Maria was off the book for pay. I knew she was off the book. I knew she had left the book. I assumed it was because she made, Comicsgate associations of it or something, and maybe that was impacting her. But I didn't realize that she didn't feel she wasn't being paid enough for it. I did see that they put another artist. She was drawing the Miss Fury graphic novel for Dynamite that Billy Tucci is writing. And I know Billy was doing a second backup story because they hit a stretch goal on it. They for not being paid enough. I mean, she hit the stretch goal for bonuses and everything, so they were getting supposedly quite a bit of money. But that's why I figured it was a reason other than pay, and they were saying it was pay.
So she was doing something for Bill. Or was the book for another company?
No, she was doing Miss Fury for Dynamite. The one that they crowdfunded, Miss Fury Joy Division, and she's off the book, which is what's caused the delay. So they had to bring in another artist who had a similar style to finish the book out.
Okay.
Shall I continue with the article a little bit? Because it does get to a point where Chuck even offers some suggestions.
Let's do that.
Yeah, continue, please.
Okay. So first off, I stopped it on here just to show you kind of like an example of the artwork here. This is from Dragon Ball Super manga right here. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of the art there?
It's classic DBZ,
Yeah.
but the thing about it is it's engaging. It's you have the action packed stuff. It's this is stuff that you don't see. You want to look at that. Go look at One Punch Man's game. I'll go. I got One Punch Man over here. I've got Overlord over here. I've got a manga that I love that they don't do anymore. Claymore. Mm-hmm. Claymore is a fantastic book.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I saw the anime for that. That was a pretty good.
Oh, the anime is nothing like the manga. I mean, because you have to understand something. They did the anime while the manga was like in issue 13, 14. There's 29 issues of the graphic novels, and so they had to end it without having an ending for the manga.
All right. Well, anyways, let me continue here. Dixon then questioned, "Why would you want to read this garbage?" I'm, of course, changing that particular word. If you had a choice of reading a genre that you prefer, be it horror or mystery or espionage or golf, when there's only one flavor in American comics, of course, Japanese comics are going to win the day, unquote. He went on, quote, "The biggest problem here is that all I see American comic book creators." Now, this, I guess, from what I understand, it's just primarily the big two plus a few others like Image and Dark Horse. But the people in the mainstream do is, okay, yeah. All I see American comic book creators, the people in the mainstream, do is complain about manga. Well, why don't you learn from manga? Why don't you look at what manga is doing and do that? Unquote. And then here's an example of another manga, Orisama Teacher. Granted, that particular type might not be anybody's favorite here, but
one thing about that cover is notice who creates it.
I didn't scroll back down, Mike, so we can see who created that cover.
who created?
Look who creates it. Izumi
Tsubaki?
That's the lady.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Story and
the,
art by
there's a
Izumi Tsubaki,
Yeah.
number 29.
There is a bunch.
Okay, what about her?
No, what I'm saying is this thing about manga is all geared for men is wrong. There's a bunch of ladies that write manga. A lot of ladies that write manga.
As I recall, the writer of Sailor Moon is a woman. In fact, the funny thing is, the writer, I think the writer of Sailor Moon is married to another manga writer who writes, and I don't know if it's the Dragon Ball or One Piece, but like I heard two manga artists, writers, or whatever are married to each other, who do the two most popular mangas out there.
Well, you have to say something like that.
Look
The most popular one is written by a woman. Demon Slayer is by a woman. The number one manga in the world, Demon Slayer, is done by a woman.
Yeah.
And hats off to her for doing
so
it.
So the whole argument about chauvinistic and all that is just baloney.
It's out the door.
Yeah.
Yep.
All
right, go on,
so
Mike.
Continuing on here, Dixon then offered a solution for American comics to compete. Quote, and I don't mean draw people with huge eyes and lots of speed lines. I mean do more varied stories. Do more complex stories. Put more effort into the artwork. Put more effort into the craft. Change the format, for God's sakes. Stop doing the little folio comics and look at what manga does. These big, fat telephone books, comics released weekly, things like that just change the formula. Look what manga is doing. Why is manga successful? Try to copy that. And again, we were doing it as commented on 50, 60, 70 years ago. We just got away from it. And that's why manga is kicking American comics right now. However, he hedged, quote, of course, if they tried to copy it just like they did in the 90s here in the United States, which I believe Dark Horse did with their Dark Horse manga imprint. I think that's one of the things he might be talking about. They just get it all wrong. They don't know what they are doing, and they have no interest. They're just going to complain about it as if that's going to get them any more readers. It's almost like what he's saying there is that they're focusing too much on trying to market to the SJWs and not to the real fans. Dixon then lamented, quote, so it's sad. It's a sad state of affairs. But everybody saw it coming. It had to happen. And I believe Yellow Flash has said that too. The way he's talked in at least some of the videos I've seen recently from him. There on comics and manga. There has to be winners and losers. As the American comic book sales falls, something has to replace it, and manga is right there. It's popular. I know my kids, no kids who read manga. They don't know anybody who reads American comics. Quote, and the kids that my kids know who read manga are just casual readers. They're not fans. They're not geeks. They're not going to conventions. They just like reading manga. They like reading it on their phone. They like reading it in books. And there you go. I don't see the mainstream, the big two, ever catching up. Although there are alternatives, unquote, he concluded. Okay, James, you were about to say something there?
Well, you keep cutting out.
Yeah, your internet froze up for you on you for a second there.
But no,
Oh, on me?
everything he's saying, yeah. But everything you said, that Chuck said, is correct. I mean, you have a lot of people who just want to read comic books. You have a lot of people who just want to read manga. They don't want to be ostracized for what they read or what they do. They don't care about going to conventions. They don't care about, having all the little figures and having all the little statues. They just want to read the story.
They don't have to dress up like the character in the book they're reading.
Correct, and that's
maybe there are other fans like myself who want to just enter that world and just live in that world and not not necessarily bring that world into the real world or.
And two things just to live by. No, Marvel and DC have pulled out of the San Diego Comic Con this year.
Whoa, wait, what?
Marvel Studios and DC have pulled out of the San Diego Comic Con for 2021.
What's the point of going then?
I don't know.
They pulled out, meaning that they're not going to be there at all. They're not even going to have a booth for their comics to be sold.
What I saw, they're done. They're not going. They're going to do DC's going to do their thing like they did last year. Their virtual. We're going to shoot all the cartoons and movies we're going to do, and not talk about the comic books.
Yeah, and you know why? That cost them absolutely almost nothing to do.
Yeah, and I'm thinking most likely because California is still shut down. Maybe another reason.
That might have, something to do with it, but.
So, but again, they're bleeding money, they're losing money, and especially with DC now being owned by Discovery, I can tell you Discovery is going to be tightening up the strings really tight on DC, especially on money spending. So, and just so everybody understands
Okay, yeah,
DC
that's what I was getting to Herrenberg. Herrenberg basically got where I was going with that. Earlier when I was talking about the writer of Sailor Moon being married to another.
Yeah, Hunter X and Yu Yu Hakusho. Yeah, actually, those two are some. Yu Yu Hakusho is one of my favorite mangas. I love it.
Yu Yu Hakusho is kind of my all-time favorite anime.
So, yeah.
I mean, it's one of the few that I actually would seriously consider actually going back and reading the manga for.
Well, I have all the manga and I have all the anime, so I have it all.
So here's the thing then. If it's the story that the people are saying is what carries it, that there's there's different genres, there's different kinds of storytelling.
It's also the art too. I mean, there's a combo. The art is really good. I mean, that's the thing. You have really good artwork, you have really good story. You got a win-win.
But Chuck's saying it's not about drawing, the anime style, drawing the big eyes. If someone were to take any manga out there, keep all the language, redraw it in a DC or Marvel house style, would it still sell?
It depends on who the artist is. I mean, and how good. It depends on how good the artwork is. But yeah.
Well, that's why I said house style. Just your basic, Sal Buscema.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it would sell. Yeah. You could take. I'm gonna take one of my favorites, Inuyasha. You could take Inuyasha, do it on modern style, and it would sell. It would just unbelievably sell. You could do that with Yu Yu Hakusho. You could do that with any manga. The thing is, the people that are drawing it have the love for the product.
Yeah,
and it shows that love. That I love what I'm doing. I love my characters. I enjoy doing this. It's just like, and I'm going to use myself on this. When it comes to the Steins, when it comes to Dark Goddess, they're my baby. I love my babies. They're my children. And I love them very much. And I want to share them with people. I want people to read them. I want them to enjoy them. I know I've gotten emails. I had a friend at my day job. He picked up the book. He picked up the hardback. He said he got home. He couldn't stop reading it. He said he read it in the whole setting. One whole
Wow.
series. He stayed up all night reading it. He said I couldn't put it down. It's so good. Now he wants book 2. I was like, well, you got to wait till September. But it's one of those things. It's when you have somebody, and I don't care who it is. It could be a teenager, it could be an old guy, come up to you and tell you that I couldn't put your book down. I had to read the whole thing. That means a lot to me as an author. It means that I wrote something people enjoy, and they enjoy my creation, my kid. And that's what I want to do with the Dark Goddess. I want to do the same thing. And it's good story, good artwork will sell the book. And that's the way you do it. You can take anything that you want art wise, you put good artwork, good story with it, it'll sell. And I'll say this when Spawn Universe came out, the book, I got the book, I went through it, I looked at it, I went through it, I thought, this is really good artwork. It's got a pretty good story. I mean, it wasn't the greatest story, but it was a pretty good story. And I really liked it. Well, I read Batman 1000 because I wanted that cover, White Wrightson's cover. And I was like, the first part was good, second part went down, third part went down. I was like, this is not quality writing. This is issue 1000. There should have been something just blow your mind, and it wasn't there. And I was like, oh, this is not, this, I'm not going to, I took it, I put it, I read it, enjoyed it, that's it. But, you have books that when you read them, you can see the love that's in the book. And a lot of the stuff that I've gotten from the independent Indiegogo stuff, I can tell when people have a lot of love for what they're doing in the book. I can tell when people are just doing a book. And there's a big difference between the two.
Well, yeah, I've said that for a while now about the big two. Is that they at some point after the '90s, the old guard passeth and the new generation come in and they don't love comics.
That's the whole thing, and it happens to everything. And I'm not trying to be mean. We all get older. I mean, back in the '90s, '93 hit. I'm out of the army. I'm joining. I'm like, I'm going to be the next, because I had the same name at the time, Jim Lee. I was, and how do I know that? Because he spent 45 minutes with me teaching me how to draw. So, it was kind of something like that. Then all of a sudden, my career took a left turn, and I was in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
After 97, 98, I was gone, and and then come back. I was still buying comic books and everything, but come back and I'm just like, what happened? I'm seeing artwork go down, seeing stories go down. I just stopped. I just stopped. 2000. It was 2003 is when I stopped buying comic books.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you were seeing the wanting to be like Jim Lee at the height of the '90s era, you were wanting to be king of the world. You come back from Japan and you go look at comics. Say, why in the world do I want to be king of this dung heap?
Yeah, it was a whole different ballgame. It was a whole different ballgame. And it just so like that. So I just like stepped away from everything. I was doing T-shirts for New Japan Pro Wrestling. I was doing covers for rock and roll bands. I was making pretty decent money while doing a day job. So yeah, it was good. And then finally, I would have to say probably October last year, I stumbled across Ethan's stream. And then I talked with Ryan Wynn and everything like that. And I'm like, okay, I'll hop back in because it looks like the independent circuit is a lot easier than it was. And I can do things. And I had the book out. I had written my novel and it was out and I had money coming in. So I was like, shoot, why not? And seeing the unity in the independent scene is a lot stronger than it was back then. Because back then, the independent scene was a cutthroat scene.
Yeah. This cover piece of Case Closed is the last part of the article here. If you want, I can kind of scroll up and let you guys see it, and then I guess I can just I can unshare this now.
Yeah, Case Closed. That's an old number. That's been going back. I want to say what 89, 90.
That's an old one. Yeah, I remember that cover.
Yeah.
96 is when I believe it came out. Story and art by Gosho Oyama, volume 79.
That's the other thing
Okay.
you're going to find out about manga. Most mangas are either written, the whole thing is written by one person, or written and drawn by one person.
Yeah. So that's the end of the article right there. So I'm going to go ahead and unshare that now. You know,
Oh. Well, I've been on a topic different from comics. This has been a good weekend for me, entertainment wise. Because one of my favorite shows has come back for a revival. I've been watching it on imdb.tv.
Which is that?
That is Leverage. And
What's
now
that?
it's called Leverage Redemption now, because it's got a continuing theme to it. And they're introducing some new characters and they're letting go of some older ones. Some of them immediately, some of them over time. A lot of the old feel is there. I've watched like 4 of the 8 that have dropped so far. But at the same time, I think the bad guys and the side characters are a little credulous and goofy in places where it's real easy to mess with them, and the reactions are a little over the top. So it's the previous series, that there was still the goofiness to it, but the villains were usually a little bit more serious in their portrayals. There might be better episodes coming, but I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt so far. It's the actors are obviously older, but the lady who plays Parker is still in shape and still able to be as crazy as ever as she was on the previous show.
Hey, Robert, I saw put your post about Christian comics. You are right. Christian comics have always been a passion of the author and the writer, because a lot of places won't pick them up. And in today's market, that's actually the most stunning and brave comic book you'll find, because that's the rarest comic book you'll find. I've got some of the old, what is it?
The Spires?
No, not spiders. It was a bunch of angels, archangels. Was that the comic? I've got a bunch of those that the guys. I knew the artist and the writer of that book.
Yeah.
And I've got those autographed. So yeah, I've got those.
I kind of remember Archangels. I mean, there have been Christian comics. Obviously, the Catholic Church used to publish comic books.
Yeah.
They used to publish Treasure Chest.
But the thing is now, that would, for DC and Marvel always come out and say, we're going to be stunning and brave. We're going to do this. For them to do something stunning and brave to do, and I'm going to say this, that they're a conservative Christian comic hero.
Yeah.
If that would be the most stunning and brave thing Marvel or DC or Hollywood could do, because right now those are the 2 words they don't like to hear.
what are the 2 words that they don't want to hear, James?
Conservative and Christian.
Yeah, they would not want to do that, which is fine with me, because there are companies out there that are doing it far better.
Oh yes, I agree.
Have you seen Dominion?
Yeah, I've seen Dominion. I'll tell you a comic book that really I thought did a good job, and I think it's still going around, because I talked about it there, but Anarch Press has still got their Battle Angel, not Battle Angel, but Warrior Nun, Ariel still going. And that's a good book.
Yeah. Oh, Herrenberg, if Bible Man's the only Christian comic I feel for you, because I know that was a kind of a campy kind of show.
Yeah, Willie Ames was the star of that. The former Charles in Charge and
8 is Enough.
8 is Enough cast member.
But yeah, I remember I had all the, and I still have all the Archie Spires. The Hal Lindsey was done through Spire. Now, see, that was something. You talk about Marvel and DC being brave enough to do it. Archie licensed out their characters to somebody who was going to do, Christian comic books, which was, okay, whose alarm is going off?
Not mine.
There's a beep 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 beep.
Not me.
Not me.
And even the chat has picked up on the fact that there's a plastic rubbing squeak sound. It's not your chair. It sounded like somebody's digital watch had hit an alarm.
I don't have a watch.
I don't know where that's
Nor
coming
do
from.
I.
It's in, yeah. Well, who does these days? I mean, but it sounds like the old plastic swatch alarm, letting you know that hey, it's time to go back to class or something.
This is the book I was talking about, real quick.
Bring it up here. Take a look.
But that's the book I'm talking about.
I have that book.
But yeah, I know those guys. Or I knew those guys. But it's a really good book. If you want a Christian comic book, that one right there.
I need to dig that one out of my collection and then take a look at it and see what they're doing, because I know I've had that book. If I don't have it now, I had it at one point.
And it ran. I don't know if it's how many seasons it went through. It came out in '95, and like I said, it went. Went looks like 9 issues. But I mean, you see all the titles here. There's some fantastic artwork. So.
Yeah. Our Archangel is all in back issues now, Robert. So if you're wanting to find it, you're going to have to go to eBay and such. If you're looking for contemporary Christian books, there is, of course, Tribulation Task Force. Parables is currently crowdfunding. And Dominion is from Terminus Media. I think Dominion is really cool. Dominion is like Narnia meets Star Wars. And it's a complete retelling of the story of King Saul from 2 Samuel, but it's doing so with interplanetary travel and giant mechs. And all the characters are anthropomorphic lions and ravens and leopards. So it's really well drawn.
You can actually get these over here at mycomicbookshop.com. They actually have them in stock. You get like issue 1 is just $2.40.
Well, there you go.
And issue 2 is $2. They're all like $2. I don't see anything above $2.40.
So 30 bucks, you could probably 40 bucks, you could probably get the whole run.
Yeah. There's only 9 issues, so you're 25 bucks, you got the whole thing.
There you go.
So, okay, I'm gonna stop. But I said, that's a good deal.
It absolutely is. There's a lot of good back issue deals out there. I'm finding that I enjoy back issue comics a whole lot more, and I'm remembering a lot of creators that I had lost track of that had kind of gotten out of things and are some of them are starting to get back into it because the crowdfunding market has opened up. I talked with Henry Vogel a while back about Southern Nights, and we did an interview, and he's doing novels now. Hopefully he's going to be coming back with some more stuff soon in comics. So maybe the folks behind Archangel will get back in on the game. I've been trying to reach out to Steve Warren, Woron, Warren, who did Survivors back in the 90s, and he has a beautiful style. He's doing an illustration studio right now. He's not doing comics, but I'd love to see him come back into the fold. He did this mature comic that wasn't like cherry Pop-Tart mature. It was just people were in mature situations while they were trying to survive the apocalypse in space. They just had relationships. It was very cool. Guys, it's been a productive hour and a half here, or close to it. So
it's been fun.
I think we'll call it a wrap. I'm looking ahead to the week ahead. We've filled out the week. In fact, we have kind of overfilled out the week. Tomorrow night, we will be talking with the folks behind Midnight Highway, which is published by Soda and Telepaths. 7 p.m. we'll have Biff Bam Boom. Hang on a second. We talked about Christian comics, and we've got Yahweh here.
Shalom.
Shalom, Yahweh. What is the word from on high?
You're not allowed to say the word Yahweh. I'm sorry.
Shalom, Yahweh. What is the word from on high? You got an echo going.
Shalom, Yahweh.
I would drink the man of
You might want to mute your YouTube if you're.
Oh, sorry. We'll turn it down. There you go.
So what's on your mind?
I was just thinking about how oppressed people can be today in today's society, and we want to hear your thoughts
On how oppressed they are?
Yes.
Who's oppressed?
Yeah, I mean, here, at least here in the United States, pretty much nobody's oppressed that doesn't want to be.
I don't think anybody wants to be oppressed. Do
Well,
you?
certain liberal arts students do talk about wanting to be oppressed.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, you know,
liberal arts students are in college. They're getting their college for free because either their parents are paying for it, or they got things, so they're getting oppressed for nothing. Or,
Shoes.
so I mean, let's face it. If you're going to college, okay, you're either paying for it by you're working a job, or you're paying for it for your parents. or you got a
somebody's paying for it.
Oh my God! Little Jewish boys on street.
Oh my God!
Make your grandmother disappointed in ya.
Is that David Cross?
Break your man Shabbat.
All right, guys.
The guy who makes Star Wars.
It's been interesting. We are going to finish wrapping it up now. We'll have Biff Bam Boom on Tuesday. Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, Kara Nicole will be on here with the Indiegogo for her new card set. Thursday at 8 p.m., we will be talking with a representative for Valerie Perrine. We're going to be reviewing her biopic. And after that, we'll have on Nicholas Gear to talk about his Tin Man book. And we'll wrap up on Friday with Machine Gun Mary. So with that, folks, appreciate you being here. Folks in the chat, don't have a show without you. So we wouldn't be here if you didn't keep showing up. And with that, we just hope you had a blast. Good night.